You're listening to the Behind Ears podcast, because everybody does Disney differently. The Behind Ears podcast crew would like to thank the following sponsors for their generous support. Hey everybody, it's Mr. Chris, and I gotta tell you about Expedition Roasters. Listen, I'm a pretty big coffee drinker, just like a lot of you are, but these people have got coffee right. Their coffees are made from selectively sourced premium and specialty grade Arabica beans. They provide the absolute best flavor and aroma, and select roast even come directly from a single estate farm for a truly perfect cup that is never bitter. They've got awesome Disney-inspired flavors such as Roundhouse Roast, Route 66, Skipper's Brew, Dark Side Roast, Redhead Rum, and one of my favorites, Bobsledder's Brew. Listen, if you want to have the taste of Disney in every cup, give them a try today. ExpeditionRoasters.com, and Behind the Ears podcast listeners gets an extra 20% off your first order by using the coupon code EARS20. That's right, EARS20. And you can find them over at ExpeditionRoasters.com. Brew your happy place. If you have a little one and you're going to Walt Disney World, you're going to need a stroller. I'll tell you what, KingdomStrollers.com is the place where you want to look into. I'll tell you, I've destroyed my fair share of strollers while at Walt Disney World, and those things are not cheap. But getting something from KingdomStrollers.com, they'll be able to help you pick out the perfect stroller for you. And the nice part is that because they're a Disney preferred provider, they'll be able to drop it off and pick it up right from your Disney resort at no extra charge. So if you don't want to necessarily destroy your stroller in the process and you want to have a great Disney vacation with your little one, contact KingdomStrollers.com and they'll set you right up. That's KingdomStrollers.com.
Welcome back to another Behind the Ears podcast. I'm Uncle Danny. We do start this show after taking a brief break yesterday on 9/11. So in honor of them, we're going to start off a little sad, but we're going to read you two things here, and then we're going to get into a little bit happier stuff. So, 9/11, 2001, we're at 2018. It's been a long time. On 9/11, the innocent died, heroes truly tried, and the masses cried. In the aftermath, American pride, heavy weeping tides, deliberate strides. Now in the present, moments abide, musings coincide, all still misty-eyed. And the reason I bring that up is we are finally in a point in life where people going to school now were not born during 2001. We're starting to see a lot of people forgetting, and it's just going to become that distant memory in a textbook. And coming from the Northeast, coming on the other side of the river from it, it's something that still hits home. And I know a lot of people in the Disney community shared this, and it's been something that's kind of been, circulating, through the waves of the internet. And it's something that I want you to really listen to, because it's something that I feel like we lose over time. And it starts off with, I miss September 12th. I would never, ever want another 9/11, but I miss the America of September 12th. Stores ran out of flags to sell because they were being flown everywhere. People were Americans before they were upper or lower class, Jewish or Christian, Republican or Democrat. We hugged people without caring, even if they ate at Chick-fil-A or wore Nikes. On September 12th, what mattered more was united us, not what divided us. 17 years later, don't ever forget. And that's just something I wanted to touch on, because, we are starting to see that generation come in. And, for someone a little bit younger like me, I wasn't around for Vietnam and obviously Pearl Harbor, or, I really was a child the first time there was a bomb at the World Trade Center. So, 9/11, I was 11 years old. So, I was not a grown man by any stretch of the imagination, but being so close and knowing plenty of people's family members who perished, whether they were first responders or people in the towers, it's a somber moment, but we should rejoice as a community, as a nation, and don't forget the people tragically lost when they were just simply trying to go to work. And for all the first responders, FDNY, the cops, firefighters, first responders, and even the average Joe that ran into a burning building to help somebody with, I don't want to call it no fear because I'm sure they had fear just running through them. But the moment to put another person's well-being in front of their own, that selflessness is fantastic. So, once again, don't ever forget. And, we appreciate everybody hanging out with us tonight and, putting up with us not coming on last night. We just felt that it was something that we wanted to do, especially me being from the Northeast. So, with that being said, we can start the show. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Behind the Ears podcast. Looks like I am still fuzzy, but I am back. That is Mr. Chris, crystal clear, like always. Sir, how are you?
Crystal clear, huh? I like that. Now, you could just say that you have the beard filter on. That's right. It's just slightly fuzzy, but your words are coming in crystal clear, which is really the important thing. That is why we are here. How are you doing? I mean, did you have a good weekend, Danny?
I did. I was thinking about what did I do this week? I don't think
really?
So.
You had to think
no,
about that.
I was with Mr. Chris. We traveled down up for me, right? Yeah.
It's still up for me
and
as
up
well.
for you. Yeah, we went up. We went up in the north. We made our way to Wisconsin. We had an amazing time at Jessica and Nicholas's wedding. If you haven't catched the wedding, you could watch the recap. They did a live viewing of the wedding. Chris and myself were lucky enough and honored to
officiate.
What's the word? Officiate. That was the word I was looking for. Yes, we officiated. We danced. We drank. We ate. We lived. I feel like I should be on a boat when I say that. But I was on a boat this weekend. The Miss Wisconsin. That was a good time. Ate a lot of cheese. Met some really cool people and had a blast. And before I get back to Chris, go check out our Instagram page. I put a post up on today. I know I put all the pictures up on our Facebook page already, but go check out our Instagram. Give us a like. We're getting close to 1,000 people following on Instagram, so that's kind of cool. But we've been putting a lot of the fantastic centerpieces Disney theme that Jessica made personally for her own wedding. So really, really cool. Go check it out. Chris, how was your weekend?
I thought my weekend was outstanding. I mean, I had a lot of flashbacks, a lot of deja vu going back up to Milwaukee, to be honest with you. And there was also a lot of things that changed that I was like, that's kind of interesting. But overall, it was a really cool weekend. But the interesting part to it is that just over a year ago is when I know we started actually getting to know certain people within our community sometimes a little bit more of a personal level than anything else. It was the start of the community. And going through some notes, Jessica was one of the first people that actually won one of our giveaways, one of our very first giveaways, when we didn't have 2 pennies to scrape together. We actually were giving stuff away as promotional stuff. And Jessica was one of our first giveaway winners. And, it's interesting in how the friendships that we have gathered over the past couple years have really grown into something bigger, to the point where, now we're traveling to somebody's wedding, let alone actually being a part of their ceremony. I mean, that's something that I know you and I didn't take lightly, and it was a whole lot of fun, but it's also one of those things where, hey, how many other Disney podcasters can actually say that they actually married to, got a couple of their listeners married? I know it's legit. I know it's totally legit. My signature is on that form, which, by the way, Jess, if you haven't sent in that form by now, we've got a problem. Anyway, but it was just one of those things where it was the start of what community was all about, and really super enjoyed it. And I think it's kind of funny because I see Danny is starting a fan club behind him. So I don't know exactly what he's doing. This is the fun part where people who are watching us get to see Danny do something like put a fan.
What? I'm so hot.
Okay.
It's so hot here.
That's just funny.
I'm sorry. I was literally sitting with you and I was sweating.
That's funny. Anyway, but it was just kind of cool. And the thing is that we'd love to be a part of our community's lives. And really, it was just one of those things that was very important to us to do. And by the way, Jessica, I think it's funny because I'm not used to seeing your last name different on the screen.
You have no idea. She was commenting on, like, my stepdad helped me fix my computer, and he would crack my Facebook, and he was posting all this stuff, and I kept getting updates on people commenting on this post, and I was like, who is this Jessica? Who is she that she keeps commenting like that? And I was like, oh, now I get it.
Oh, that's funny. But speaking of community, I wanted to mention just one thing, and this kind of a little bit of a somber item. It was during the reception, and I didn't say anything until after I got home, because I really don't know how to word this. During the reception, I found out that a friend of the Disney community in general, and he was a part of many different Disney communities out there. Ricky Reed, also known as DJ Technoid, passed away on Saturday in his home in Georgia. And to me, he was someone I was really starting to become friends with. He and I've had several conversations on the side. In fact, we even talked about him coming onto the show, mainly because I'm interested in his music. He did a lot of really awesome mixes of great Disney music, and he was an extraordinarily talented person. And he was also really cool with, his graphic designs, and, he has this really cool logo that he had with Mickey with this really cool baseball cap on backwards. And every once in a while he would play around with it and change its color and use it to create happy birthday postings for people. And he was just a really nice guy. And I know there's a lot of people in different communities that knew him better than I did. I'm not going to deny that. But it's one of those cases where my heart, my thoughts, my prayers go out to he and his family, because, the thing is that sometimes you just have to stop and say, he's going to definitely be missed. He was an inspiration to me. A lot of the music that I've done on the show here was inspired by some of the things that he did. I've been a musician on and off throughout my life, especially, mainly through high school. And some of his, influence, I was trying to actually pick up, or dare I even say imitate, through some of our little things that are played on the show. I just want to mention that, not as a downer, but to celebrate he and his life and what he gave to the Disney community in general. So by all means, if you knew him, you knew exactly what I'm talking about. If you didn't, he was a really great guy. And I know that he is obviously in a better place right now. He's not dealing with the crap that he was dealing with here on Earth in the sense of his health. So Ricky, we'll see you again soon, my friend.
Yeah, it was so sad when I heard that. You turned to me and I was like, and I'll be completely honest, I've had maybe a handful of conversations with him. So I didn't even know he was sick, and I was a little taken back by it because he was such a young man. Prayers to his family.
But with that said, nope. Sorry, go ahead, bro.
No, I was going to move into the next topic.
Okay, so no, this is one of those topics that, for some reason, this started. Every time this topic comes up, it seems like it starts weeping and gnashing of teeth among the Disney community. Not really within the WDW community, which is our awesome page, but many others. And that is, earlier this week, Disney decided to change basically the cost for the minivan service. And while some of the details were not finally released, and I don't know what they are now, even at the time of this recording, they were going to lower the base price to $15, but they were going to have a per mile charge on top of it as well. Now, some people were thinking, okay, this could be better than the $25 flat rate. And in some cases, it might not be as good as the $25 flat rate, depending on, point A and point B. Personally, I don't have an issue with this, but I still want to find out. I want to find out a little bit more of the details. The thing is now, here's the thing that I want to kind of mention something. People think $15 is expensive, at least at a base rate. It is actually kind of expensive. I've mentioned this to you before, Danny, that, a lot of times the Ubers that I've taken have, with tip, have been between $15 and $18, maybe $19. Minivan, if you go with a base rate of $15, and let's say that, you're still going to have an average fare of, $20 to $22, at least in the way that I've done Uber, it's not that much more.
Yeah, I don't know how you did Uber because, oh man, I don't get it.
I don't know why yours has always been so low, but most of my base fares for Uber have been like $11 to $13.
Yeah, I don't get it because I was going from Pop to Magic Kingdom, and mine was like $9. I don't know. You got to remember they do. I mean, Chris would be our man to ask, but I'm pretty sure it's also done on volume, like what type of day Uber's having and the time of day you call in and things along that nature. Here's the thing. If you literally are going to go anything over 3 miles, it's going to cost you a small fortune. Well, because you're probably looking at $1.50 to $2 a mile on top of the 15.
You really think it's going to be that much?
Yeah. Chris said surge pricing. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I really think it's going to be in that ballpark.
Because I'm actually thinking it's going to be less than $1 a mile charge, because I don't think they want to go above what was that $25 rate. I think what they're trying to do, this is my 2 cents. I have nothing to base this off of.
I'm going by what the most of the taxis in that area are basing it off of.
Well, I
just Googled it real quick. That's why.
No, I get it. I guess you could say I'm just trying to, I think they want to try to make it more desirable, but they still need to make it a premium service versus an Uber. So
Chris gets paid 8 cents per minute, 35 cents per mile. Uber takes 60% of that.
So even if you just take that per mile, round it up to say 50 cents a mile, you're
it's Disney, but okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm comparison's sake here.
That's not bad. If you go 50 cents a mile and you want to go 3 miles, you're looking at $1.50, and you're not tipping on top of the 15. So you're at, let's call it 17.
Yeah, so
that's not bad. Still less than the 25. I don't see how they're going to take a hit though. That's why I'm more in the ballpark of the $1.50 to $2, because I don't think they're going to take that big of a hit. They're not going to allow someone to go say 3-4 miles for $17 when they used to get 25. Now, this is my real question to you. Do you know how much they charge to bring you to the airport? It's $150. Who in their right mind to do that?
You know who would do it? People who are there for conventions. And they're expensing it. They want a premium service to do that sort of thing. You
can get a limo for cheaper than that. HappyLimo.com. There you go. There's your free plug of the day.
Yeah, I know. I'm not arguing it. I think it's too expensive to go to the airport. I really do. I wouldn't do it to the airport. I'm mainly only comparing. I'm only comparing what I'm hearing. Now, I think it was Brian that actually mentioned in one of the chats the other day. This could very well be, hold that comment up there for a second. This may be, the start of, actually going just beyond the Disney properties, and maybe going up Hotel Boulevard or something like that. And therefore, yeah, you might end up having to have a little bit of an extra charge or something like that. Jamie made mention here. She's like, I've never had to use Uber or any kind of ride sharing. We either use Disney Transport or have our own vehicle. It makes sense if you need to use it that you'll pay for the service. Personally, she thinks minivan is way too expensive. As I said before, I mean, at $20, when it was $20 when it first came out, it was only a few bucks more than what I was dealing with from Uber. So to me, I would actually do minivan. When it was $25, I still wasn't necessarily a super fan of the price, but I really liked the service. And at the same time, I always can find coupons for Lyft. And I was able to use those coupons for minivan. So I'd never paid $25. So that's just the way I see it. Now,
Okay. So this is when the mean side of the podcast comes out. This is the Uncle Danny segment. I'm going to borrow you for a minute and a half. Chris says pretty soon it will be all minivan service to any Disney resorts. They're basically kicking out Uber from the parks. Disney's a multi-billion-dollar company. You charge me $150 to stay in some upgraded Motel 6 of Pop All-Stars. And I can't find a cheaper way from sitting on your broken down buses or being a sardine. I can't take the dude's Honda Civic to the park. I got to pay $15 plus this ride. You know how to beat this? I won't stay on property. I'll rent a car and I'll drive in. It's that simple. You're going to drive people out. You continuously hear people say this all the time. Disney is outpricing the average Joe. And we've been very liberal on this show. And we have been like, hey, listen, it's supply and demand. They want to fluctuate crowds. We get it. But there comes a point when you're just literally raking somebody over the coals. To kick Uber out is ridiculous. Now, maybe work with Uber and work with Lyft and maybe only have X amount of drivers that are allowed to do it, or maybe they need to go through an extra screening process through Disney to allow only, special people on property that have reliable cars that have a 4.8 stars and above, or whatever the case is. I'm okay with that. But to simply take them out and basically offer you only, and I mean, I'm assuming if they're taking an Uber out, they're going to take the yellow taxis out, which basically makes me believe they're only going to offer you Disney transportation. That to me is a stretch. You are literally, you're pricing people out. I can't afford to take, if I have to run back to the hotel. Okay, scenario. You're at Animal Kingdom. You're staying at Pop Century. You with your family and you forgot something. You forgot your wallet and you really need your wallet. It had your money in, had your cards in it. And your family, you have a big dinner, you have a big surprise, you're taking your family out to lunch. You need to go back to get that wallet. Do you know how long it would take you to wait for a bus to bring you from Animal Kingdom to Pop? And then from walk to your room, get your wallet, get back on the bus, and go to Pop. Or you can simply just call an Uber, and for like $25 round trip, with tips included, you could be in and out and save yourself an hour. Now you can't do that? Or now you could pay $50 to have the minivan do it? I don't know, man. That's a stretch. I don't know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to rant. I just...
Well, here's the thing, though. I personally think it's just another tool in the arsenal. Yeah, okay, my last trip in June, great example. When I had the 5 of us, myself, my wife, my 2 kids, my son-in-law-to-be, it was actually cheaper to do a $25 minivan than it was to do a Lyft or an Uber that will, an Uber XL that'll fit 5 people plus a driver. It was actually cheaper. It makes sense that way. My son and I came back from around the boardwalk area really late one night, and so we went over to the beach club, and we got an Uber, and it cost me, I think the base fare on that was just a shade under $10. Had a great conversation with the guy. I tipped him $5. So let's call it 14 and a half, maybe $15. I can't remember exactly, but it was around there. And so the fact of the matter is that, for some people don't want to, some people don't trust Uber. Let's face it.
I get that.
My wife wouldn't do it by herself, but she'll do it with me. So the fact of the matter is that I don't have a problem with Uber. I've never had a problem with Uber. I mean, I've used it a few times. I've been very satisfied with my Uber rides. And at the same time, I've been very happy with taking a minivan when it was appropriate. Again, purpose driven. I mean, it was very competitive when I had to have room for 5 of us. Unfortunately, that's, for some families, you're going to need that. And actually, I'll tell you the truth. Even if you had 4 of us, I know a lot of sedans will fit 4 people plus a driver. The problem of it is that you don't know whether or not someone's going to drive you in a Toyota Camry or someone's going to drive you in a Toyota Corolla. Camry would be fine. A Corolla, not so much with my physique. You know what I'm saying?
If you sit in the front, you're all right, though.
Well, I know, but still, I mean, yeah, but you kind of catch my drift. You got
No, it's not going to be the most comfortable thing in the world.
No.
But I pose this to you. As much as that's uncomfortable, how much different is it from you being squished onto a bus?
You know what? To tell you the truth, it kind of depends. Because, on the bus, I kind of expect it. In an Uber, I'm kind of strapped in there. It's a different feeling. It's a different... I guess you could say it's a different feeling, and at least for me, that's just a personal thing. I feel a little more entrapped in a car when I'm really scrunched next to somebody. At least on a bus, for some reason, it's a mental thing. I'm okay with it.
So when you look at Uber and you look at, Chris is from the Midwest. I'm from the East Coast. I've grown up my entire life getting in taxi cabs, getting in, Ubers in the more recent past. I mean, you want to go out to the bar, you get in an Uber, you get in a taxi, subways, bus. I'm very familiar with public transportation. Mm-hmm. So, I don't fear it. My girlfriend, when she goes out, they take Uber. I don't fear her being in the car with anybody from Uber. But, and Enrique, brings up a solid point. He says, I'm sorry, but I had 2 horrible experiences with Uber at Disney. I'll never ask for a Uber again. Much rather have Disney drive me. No offense, but I don't have to worry about trusting the driver when getting in a minivan. But I think, and now I'm going to say this tongue in cheek, but with a little bit of seriousness along with it, is that because we want to believe that everybody and everything that's associated with Disney is pixie dust and unicorns and everything's safe? When you're in Disney, you're in your bubble. Nothing can go wrong. You are safe.
I think there is definitely an idea that the brand, the brand label does have a positive mental stigma where people will actually pay more for things because it is Disney labeled. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think just like anything else, there are limits to that. There are limits to that pricing. And I'm not going to get into the whole idea of whether or not Disney's outpricing the middle class, so to speak, or anything like that. That is not the topic of what this is all about. But let's say that the average cost of a minivan ride ends up being, even with mileage charges, hovering more around the $30 mark. I'm going to be less apt to consider taking it because I feel that goes just beyond what I'm willing to pay. I will go ahead and use Uber or a Lyft minus minivan, that type of thing. So we'll have to see how that goes.
That's a funny comment.
Wait. I used Uber.
Mary said Uber, but I was with 3 other people. I figured it'd be too hard to kill all of us and dispose of our bodies. Something in the size trunk. I don't know.
We have a great experience. Very, very, very vivid imagination there. But that's my thing. And you know what? I mean, Chris and I have talked about this. Talked about the whole Uber and minivans and situations like that. I mean, Chris and I have had conversations about this, and as I said, I think each service has its place. So we're going to have to see what that per mileage charge is going to be. We're going to have to see, how it's calculated. If you go from literally one edge of property to the other, you're obviously going to pay more than if you're going from Animal Kingdom to Animal Kingdom Lodge. You're going to pay the absolute least. That type of scenario, if you catch my drift. But again, you got to figure out what's going to do. I still don't think it's worth it going back to and from the airport. Maybe some people feel that way, and that's okay. But I just think that there is a
I think
price.
a car for cheaper than that.
You almost could. I mean, if you're talking
$300.
Oh yeah. Well, some people have been saying that the prices for rental cars are expensive. Not to mention, unless you're a DVC member or falls in some of those other categories, you're going to have to pay for the parking at the resorts now too. See,
that's true.
I think by now everybody knows. I drive down there. Diz Truck 1 sits in the parking lot. I don't take it out. It's as simple as that. I use Disney transportation. I will use Ubers. I will use minivans. I will not use my personal vehicle. Why? I've got to depend on Diz Truck 1 getting me home. So I want to make sure it's safe. So she gets parked out there, chills out for a while, has its own little vacation in a nice Disney parking lot. So that's the thing. But anyway, do you have any other thoughts on that? I mean, because here's the thing. I want people to support their local Uber drivers and their local Lyft drivers. But if you need to use a minivan because you feel you want that service, I think you should go ahead and do it too. What do you think? Last final words.
Wendy had brought a good one.
What's that?
She basically was saying that she would have done over all of the options. She would have liked to go with the old school bus service they offered about a year ago, where you went from park to park and you skipped security lines and everything.
Yeah, the thing is that I was okay. Here's the funny part about that service. It's not that I never got to try it. I never had a need to try it. It wasn't. I was actually looking forward to using it. But once I looked at my plans, I realized that, it was not for me. It was just, excuse me, it just wasn't something that it really fit into my travel plans. Almost every person that I saw that used to take, that tried that particular service, they were always on a bus that was empty.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was actually a pretty good value if you were like massive park hoppers. Everybody's been talking about doing all the rides in one day, or the 4 parks in one day challenge and stuff like that. That is where that particular service would have definitely have come in handy. But, I usually don't do a lot of park to park hopping. Sometimes I do. It's not always the case, but, overall, I think to tell you the truth, doing something like Uber is Uber or a minivan or a Lyft is probably going to be more cost effective. Disney doesn't have to worry about the infrastructure for that. And the only real drawback to it is A, where they drop you off, and B, having to go through security again. It's a second park.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is what it is, but sometimes you don't have to wait for a bus. So I don't know. Disney transportation, everybody does it differently. I don't have a problem with the buses. I usually don't end up waiting more than a typical time. I don't have a problem. Some people find it more convenient to find an alternative piece of transportation. I think for them, they have options. And that's the thing. Disney does not require you to shell out more money for those pieces of transportation in order to have a great vacation.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next topic here.
So let's talk briefly about the Void and what's coming up. So back around mid-July, there was some talk about rumors about whether or not the Void, the company that runs it, was going to do a Wreck-It Ralph type of storyline and a type of VR storyline. And so I took the opportunity to go to the Void in July, right after that was even mentioned. And I went up to him and said, hey, give me the 411. And whoever trained these people from a PR perspective did such a fabulous job, saying things like, we don't know, you'll have to talk to corporate. Now, the funny part about it is, I think personally, the whole line of you have to talk to corporate is basically a byline 9 times out of 10 for, yeah, chances are that's really going to happen, but I can't risk my job by saying anything. And so I speculated that was going to happen. And now it sounds like it's probably going to happen sometime this fall, assumingly right around the same time when Ralph Breaks the Internet, gets released in theaters this coming November. And I'll be really honest. I think that's great. I will go do that again, because I think that Void experience, flippin' fantastic.
Oh,
Loved
yeah.
it. Oh my gosh. Just, you talk about an immersive experience. I mean, seriously addictive. The VR, amazing. It was. Have you done it yet, by chance?
I have not.
Have you done anything like VR, of that VR sort before?
I have not.
Oh my gosh, dude! You have to when you go out this spring. You have to. It is so amazing. I mean, oh my gosh, addictive. And I did it with the Star Wars storyline, and I was just blown away. I don't know if I would want to do that storyline again, just because it's kind of the storyline. I would so do it to be in the middle of Wreck-It Ralph type of thing. That would be epic. That would be totally epic. I would be all over that. Period. So
now, what is it exactly?
It, as in the VR experience itself?
Yeah, like what is this one for? Like, what do you do? Is there any like?
There's been no.
Is there anything that's come out about it, or
no? There's been no details actually in regards to the storyline. In fact, the interesting part about the storylines themselves is they try to keep it toned down, as in, people describe it, but you can't. For obvious reasons, you can't take video of what you're doing and stuff like that, because you're wearing a VR headset.
Sure.
You're not going to really see anything. The storyline for Star Wars did fit into a typical, somewhere in the story, somewhere within the Star Wars storyline. No real details have been released in the sense of what kind of storyline for the new Wreck-It Ralph VR experience would actually entail. Although I'm going to make a prediction. I don't think it's going to follow the movie storyline. I think it's going to be something totally different. It's going to be a standalone storyline, and we're going to probably be interacting as a certain characters, which we may find out who they could possibly be during the movie itself. These are my speculations. I'm not reading anything. And I'm sure that we will see a lot of characters from the movie in that particular storyline. So we'll have to see how it goes. I will tell you this: the tech will draw me, and I bet you any money that storyline will sell me. Now
I see this little tag here. It says this experience will be followed by one based on an undisclosed Marvel movie that will premiere sometime in 2019.
Where are you reading that?
Is WDW info.
In regards to a Wreck-It Ralph item?
Let's see. The first new experience is set to debut this fall and is based on the upcoming Ralph Breaks the Internet from Disney Animation Studios. Ralph Breaks VR will put guests inside a new multi-sensory Disney adventure where they'll be immersed in the worlds of the internet and online gaming with Wreck-It Ralph and Vanellope.
Yep.
The experience will be followed by one based on an undisclosed Marvel movie that will premiere in sometime in 2019. The high-profile entertainment properties, arguably among the most valuable franchise in the world, extend to the Void's relationship with Disney. The company created a Star Wars-themed experience last year.
Okay, you know what that tells me? After Wreck-It Ralph, they've already got a Marvel one in play, or either in play or in development right now.
Okay, makes more sense.
That's what I'm reading out of that particular one. I think that'd be cool. In fact, I actually tell you the truth. I think that makes sense. In fact, I actually think it makes a little bit more sense than Star Wars. Okay. I'm going to be very careful how I say this.
Oh boy.
Well, because I don't want people throwing tomatoes at me through my camera here.
Oh, okay.
Star Wars, I think, has a very distinct following. I mean, it is a huge, huge following. But it cannot be, understated on how much of a following the Marvel cinematic universe has as well. Not just because It's Marvel because you have so many aspects of the MCU that you can actually put into such a storyline. You know, whether or not it's, you know, the Captain Americas, whether or not it's Iron Man, whether or not it's Thor, whether or not it's the Avengers in general, any of those characters. I mean, I could picture myself being like a Nick Fury. That'd be funny. You know, would I look and sound like Samuel L. Jackson? That would be awesome. But I mean, you can't underestimate Marvel's pull on this as well. So that's what I'm kind of getting at, and I think. I'm hoping that. Thanks, Gordon. I'm tomatoes at the ready. So I think I worded that kind of gingerly because, you know, Star Wars is it is a franchise in itself. It's huge. It's gigantic. It was an awesome VR experience. I think Marvel is a next great fit. Enrique goes, them lightsaber fighting words. Speaking of VR, speaking of lightsaber, I would love to play the game Beat Saber, but I don't have a VR. Headset. I really want to do that.
What is that exactly?
Oh, go take a look at the video I posted on the WDW community where a guy plays this really awesome VR game with lightsabers. It's pretty awesome. So, anyway, I'll tell you, Danny, this spring you got to try it. It's not horribly priced, and it's more fun when you go with a few people that you know. So you got to give it a try, especially if you're going to end up, you know, meeting a couple people that we know that just got married.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So speaking of this sort of thing, you know, Disney, we've been talking about hotels and stuff like that in the recent past. And the interesting part is that we know that Disney's putting up 2 new hotels. And both of them look very big. And we know that there are going to be some other hotels going up that are going to be non-Disney hotels. Without talking about the hotels themselves, let me ask you this. I know you've stayed off-site before. Do you think it would make a difference if you stayed on property but not in a Disney hotel? Would that make a difference to you in the sense of, do you think that'll make a difference to you in the sense of what you would consider?
Am I paying off-site prices or am I paying Disney prices?
Time will tell on that one, my friend.
Well, no, that's a big question, though. Because if it's Disney prices, no, I'm staying at a Disney hotel then because I want the theming. If it's not Disney prices, it'd be really something to consider because you're still closer and you have the amenities of the Disney hotel without paying the Disney price. I'll tell you what, when I would shoot down by myself and I was doing solo trips or little business trips, staying off site was great. It was 1, 2, 3, and I got away from the crowds at night, different eateries. Me and Chris, we were talking about this in in Wisconsin this weekend. Mm-hmm. Just being outside the park, you get to eat just normal price food and things like that. But on the same hand, if I'm going to stay near property or on property, I want that Disney theme. I don't want the Swan and Dolphin.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you know, but, you know, Trisha just kind of made mention. Swan and Dolphin is pretty much on property, but not Disney, right? Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And, you know, you get most of the amenities that are included there. You don't get Disney's Magical Express, for one. And there are some other limitations as well. But you're paying somewhere between Disney prices and off-site prices. You're more like paying moderate prices for what for what some people consider to be a deluxe hotel. A lot of people go there. A lot of people use their Starwood preferred guest SPG. A lot of people use points to stay there. You know, if they're part of like the Starwood preferred guest program or something like that, I believe that's the one that they do. But a lot of people use points to stay there, so they're staying there for free. I mean, much like I'm a Hilton dedicated type of person, and I like to stay at Hiltons for free. I've known people to do that as well, you know. So, and also a lot of times they give out a lot of great discounts for people such as educators, So that's something to take into consideration as well.
I'm a big Marriott fan.
You're a Marriott fan? I used to be a big Marriott fan myself. I actually had a lot of status on Marriott, and then I don't know, just things kind of merged into the Hilton family.
No, Hilton's beautiful.
Yeah.
I just always, I've always stayed at Marriott's when I was a kid, so it was always nice.
Yeah. Gordon actually makes a nice commentary. He's like, the new hotels seem like a waste. I say nice as well thought out here. Seemed like a waste to me. I would rather seen them spend that money on refurbs rather than housing more people in the parks than than the parks can even handle. Keep in mind one thing though, these are not Disney hotels, so it's not like the concept of refurbing rather than building new hotels. Not the same company, so it's not Disney doing that sort of thing. It's these other third parties that are doing it for their hotel. So unfortunately, you can't even make that comparison. I've said this before, though, and I don't know if you still believe me or not. I think these hotels are being brought in because there is going to be something bigger on the horizon with either a huge expansion of one or more parks that haven't had expansions yet already, or a possible fifth gate. I still think that this is in preparation, instead of the, build it and they will come, this is build the hotels and let them anticipate. I still think there's something there.
And the 50th is right around the corner.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that I think that actually makes a very good business plan. If think about it this way, if you build a fifth gate, regardless of what that fifth gate is, and you don't have the accommodations to be able to keep them on property, then what's going to happen is that they're going to go off property, for those people that are going to fill that extra park that can hold another 30 to 50,000 guests on a low average day. This way they're going to build those hotel rooms. They're going to house those people. They're going to get them ready for it. And boom. When it's finally announced, that anticipation will just grow. So, I mean, that's the thing. But keep in mind, a lot of Disney is doing Disney is doing new hotels. Third parties are doing new hotels. It just makes me wonder what's going to be coming. And I think the next few things the next few big announcements will probably tell us. And you're right, 50th, big milestone.
Yeah. All right, man. I'm hitting a wall here. Wrap us up.
You want to wrap up already? Yeah, really?
It's past Uncle Danny's bedtime.
I know. You've been tired. So I'll tell you what. I'm just actually glad to be back. Back in action. Not having a whole bunch of stuff. People haven't even said that I sounded like Barry White tonight, so I'm pretty happy about that. But, for those people that are making comments, I guarantee you this. Sometime by tomorrow morning, I'll be answering your questions within your comments. I always do that after every show. And so just kind of keep that in mind. Any last words before I hit this magic button?
Hit it.
All right. You heard the show, and we hope you want more. Well, feel free to join us over at our social media platforms. Instagram and our Facebook page can be found at Behind the Ears Podcast. Our webpage is behindtheearspodcast.net, and our email is behindtheearspodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @BehindTheEarsPC. And come and join the conversation about all things Disney over at the WDW community page. Don't forget to rate and review the show over at iTunes or Apple Podcasts, as it really helps us get the word out about the show. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or the Podbean app. Also, you can listen to us on Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and via Alexa and Google Home.
And with that being said, thank you all for joining us here on another live recording of Behind the Ears Podcast. Glad to be back. Glad to have the duo back. What, was I too loud?
It's like all of a sudden you're eating the microphone. It got really loud.
I wanted to be more clear. They say when you take the microphone, you let everybody know you have it. Thanks for everybody joining us. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate all the love and support you guys gave Chris. He did a fantastic job without me while my computer was broken. Seems to be running somewhat 90% better. Still got to figure out the camera issue, but we will get by with that. Once again, like I said in the beginning of the show, don't forget, keep up. Oh, hit the wrong button there. That was bad. Yeah, just follow us on all social media platforms, like Chris says. If I didn't say it, Trisha would kill me. Make sure you go join the WDW Facebook group. With that being said, I am Uncle Danny. Peace.
And I'm Mr. Chris. Thanks everybody for being with us tonight. It was just really glad to be back here on the air without a whole lot of problems. We really appreciate you guys sticking with us through thick and thin. Just make sure you share us out. If you're listening via podcast, let everybody know what's going on as well. We really super appreciate it. But until we meet again, we hope that you have an absolutely magical day. Take care.